The emergency alarm woke from a deep sleep. She jumped out of bed and ran to her console. The screen showed a priority message from Station Command. Something bad had happened in the sector. She studied alien species for a living. She had been on Galactic Station Horizon 7 for 3 years now. In that time, she had learned one simple truth. Nobody bothered the nobody. There were predators, real predators. They stood 8 feet tall and looked like wolves made of nightmares. They had armor like skin, claws that could cut through metal, and eyes that glowed in the dark. When they walked through the station, other species moved out of their way, even the aggressive ones, even the ones with weapons. So when read that they were asking for help, she thought the message was a mistake. She dressed quickly and hurried to the command center. The hallways were already full of worried aliens. News traveled fast on a space station. Everyone knew something strange was happening. Commander found her colleagues waiting for her. Doctor was a medical officer with gentle hands and tired eyes. Engineer was small but fierce, the kind of woman who could fix anything with enough time and tape. They were her team, her friends. "What is happening?" asked. Showed her the report. A hull breach in the residential sector. The air systems were damaged. Some kind of toxic gas was leaking into their living spaces. The adult could survive the poison for about 3 days. Their bodies were strong. But the cubs could not. 17 cubs, said quietly. They will die in 6 hours if we do not move them somewhere safe. Felt her heart sink. 17 children, 17 young lives in danger. Why are they asking us for help? Asked. They never ask anyone for anything. The answer came from the doorway. A massive shadow filled the entrance. Every alien in the room stepped back in fear. Some of them made small sounds of terror. Pack Mother walked into the command center. She was the largest had ever seen. Her fur was dark gray, almost black, with streaks of silver running through it. Her eyes burned like blue fire. When she breathed, could hear the air moving through her massive lungs. Looked around the room. She watched the aliens tremble. She watched them avoid her gaze. Then her eyes found. "You are the human leader," said. Her voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. Stepped forward. She had to look up to meet the eyes. "I am Commander. How can we help?" Made a sound that might have been surprise or respect. "You do not run. You came here for help. Running would be rude." For a long moment the Pack Mother said nothing. Then she spoke again. "Our cubs are dying. We need a safe place for them. A place with clean air and proper temperature. We need someone to care for them while we fix our home." A diplomat stepped forward. There were small, delicate creatures with too many eyes. "Pack Mother, surely your own people can." "Our people must repair the damage," cut him off. "Every adult is needed, and no other species will take our cubs." She was right, could see it in the faces around her. They were afraid that something might go wrong. If a cub got hurt, they might blame them. The breath different air. The collective hated them because of an old war. Nobody wanted to take care of predator children. It was too dangerous, too scary. "We will take them," said. The room went silent. Stepped up beside her. "Our medical bay can handle their needs." Nodded. "I can adjust our habitat module, make it comfortable for them." The diplomats stared at the humans like they had lost their minds. "Commander, cubs are not like other children. They have claws, they have teeth, they have killed handlers before. You cannot simply." "We can," said, "and we will." Studied the 3 humans. Her glowing eyes moved from face to face. She was looking for something. Fear, maybe, or lies. She found neither. "Why?" the Pack Mother asked. "Why would you risk yourselves for our young?" Thought about the question. It seemed strange to her, like asking why water was wet, why the stars burned. Some things just were. "Because they are children," she said finally. "Because they need help, because we can give it." Was quiet for a long time. The whole room waited. Then slowly the massive predator lowered her head. It was not a bow, did not bow, but it was close. I chose correctly, said softly. I knew I would. She turned to leave, then stopped. She looked back at one more time. Human, do you know why I came to you? Why I asked your species and no other? Shook her head. Because I have watched your kind for 20 years. I have studied you, and I know what you are. Eyes burned brighter. You are the galaxy's strangest predators. You hunt, you kill, you fight. But you also do something no other predator does. You adopt, you nurture, you protect young that are not your own. She walked through the doorway, her massive form blocking the light. Bring your team to Docking Bay 7. My cubs will arrive in 1 hour. Do not make me regret my trust. Then she was gone. Looked at and they looked back at her. Nobody spoke for a moment. Well, said finally, I guess we have a nursery to build. They got to work. The cubs arrived in a transport pod, 17 of them. They ranged from tiny infants that fit in 2 hands to adolescents almost as tall as. All of them were terrified. Watched through the window as the pod doors opened. The first cub to emerge was an adolescent male with dark fur and bright golden eyes. He stepped out slowly, his claws clicking on the metal floor. His ears were flat against his head, his lips pulled back to show his fangs. Behind him came the others. Some walked on shaky legs, some were carried by older siblings. The smallest ones made high-pitched crying sounds that hurt ears. A counselor named stood beside. She had been assigned to observe and report. Her many eyes blinked nervously as she watched the cubs. Those sounds, whispered, those cries, they trigger hunting instincts in most species. My people would want to chase them, to catch them. We could not control ourselves. They sound like scared bobbies to me, said. Looked at her with something like wonder. How strange you humans are. The transport pod left. The cubs were alone now. Alone with 3 humans in a strange place that smelled wrong and looked wrong and felt wrong. The adolescent male growled. It was a warning sound. Stay back. Do not come closer. Did something that made gasp. She sat down on the floor. What are you doing? They asked. Making myself small, making myself safe. Sat cross-legged with her hands open on her knees. She did not look directly at the cubs. She did not move toward them. She just sat there and started to hum softly. It was an old Earth song, a lullaby her mother used to sing. Moved slowly to the food preparation area. He had studied biology all night. He knew what the cubs needed to eat. He began cooking, letting the smell of meat fill the air. He did not rush. He did not make sudden movements. Worked on the environment controls. She dimmed the lights until the room looked like twilight. She adjusted the temperature to match the home world. She played low sounds through the speakers. They were recordings of maternal calls that she had found in the station database. For an hour nobody spoke. The humans just existed in the space, patient, calm, present. Slowly, very slowly, the cubs began to relax. The adolescent male stopped growling. A few of the middle-sized cubs sniffed the air and moved toward the food. One brave infant toddled toward and sniffed her hair. Stayed perfectly still. The infant sniffed her face, her hands, her clothes. Then it made a small chirping sound and curled up against her leg. Watched all of this through the security cameras. She was recording everything. She could not believe what she was seeing. By midnight, most of the cubs were eating or sleeping. The room that had been full of fear and tension was now almost peaceful. Almost. Noticed one cub that had not moved. It was the smallest one, a tiny female barely old enough to walk. She lay in the corner, breathing too fast, shaking too hard. Her eyes were dull. Crawled over to her slowly. She did not want to scare the other cubs. When she reached the small one, she touched its fur gently. The cub was burning with fever. The poison had hit her harder than the others. She was dying. Said quietly, I need you. The doctor came over and checked the small cub. His face grew serious. She is very sick. The toxin is in her blood. Standard treatment says we should isolate her, keep her away from the others. No, said. Thanks. No, she is scared and sick and alone. I'm not going to put her in a cold room by herself. Picked up the tiny cub. The small body fit easily in her arms. She could feel the rapid heartbeat, the struggling breaths. She held the cub against her chest, where her own heart beat steady and strong. What are you doing? Asked through the speaker. Holding her. That is all, just holding her. Sometimes that is all anyone needs. Sat in a chair and held the sick cub all night. She did not sleep. She did not eat. She just held on. She talked softly to the small creature. She told her about Earth, about forests and rivers and mountains, about dogs and cats and all the animals humans had loved throughout history. The cub's breathing slowed. Her heartbeat steadied. She stopped shaking. By morning, the fever had broken. The small cub opened her eyes and looked up at. Her eyes were clear now, alive. She made a soft sound, not a cry, not a growl, something else, something new. The cub pressed her ear against chest and listened to her heartbeat. Then she closed her eyes and slept peacefully. Save the recording. Her hands were shaking. In all her years of diplomatic work, she had never seen anything like this. A human had held a predator cub through the night, had given her warmth and comfort and the sound of a heartbeat, and it had worked. The door opened. Pack Mother stood there. She had been watching too. Why does she hold my cub like that? Asked. I do not know. It should not work. The cub should be afraid, should be aggressive, but she is calm. Walked into the room. Every cub looked at her. The adolescent male started to rise, ready to report, but was not looking at the cubs. She was looking at the tiny cub sleeping against the human's chest, at the peace on both their faces. We chose humans because we recognized what they are, said softly. Your galaxy has forgotten. We have not. Sminy eyes blinked. What are they? Did not answer. She just watched hold her smallest cub and listened to the human's steady heartbeat fill the quiet room. Outside, the station woke up and started its day. But in the human habitat module, a strange new family was beginning to form. 48 hours had passed. The cubs were stable. The humans were tired but happy, and the whole station was watching. Aliens gathered outside the habitat module. They pressed their faces against windows. They watched security feeds. They whispered to each other in 100 different languages. What were the humans doing? How were they surviving? Why were the predator cubs not attacking them? Pack Mother came to visit every few hours. She checked on her cubs. She spoke quietly with the adolescents. And sometimes she sat with the watching aliens and answered their questions. Why humans? A merchant asked her. There were tall beings with hard shells and cold eyes. They had fought a terrible war with the 300 years ago. They had lost. They still hated the for it. Looked at the merchant. She did not seem bothered by his anger. Because we have been watching them for 20 years. Because we know what they are capable of. They are weak, they said. Soft, no claws, no armor, we could crush them easily. Could you? Asked. Let me tell you a story. The aliens gathered closer. Even the leaned in to listen. 20 years ago, a scout ship crashed on a human colony world. The pilot was badly hurt. Her cub was trapped in the wreckage. She was certain they would both die. Paused. Her glowing eyes grew distant, remembering. The humans came, but not with weapons. They came with tools. They cut through the ship's hull to free the cub. They treated the pilot's wounds. They gave them food and shelter and medicine. Why? Asked. She was still observing, still recording. They were unknown to them, dangerous. Why would they help? That is exactly what the pilot asked. She asked a farmer named why he risked his life for strangers. Do you know what he said? Nobody spoke. He said there was a child in trouble. He said that was all he needed to know. The aliens murmured among themselves. This seemed impossible to them. Helping a stranger's child, a dangerous alien's child, without expecting anything in return. When our fleet arrived to recover the bodies, we found something different. We found the pilot healed. We found her cub playing with human children, playing, as if they were siblings. Stood up, she was so tall that everyone had to look up at her. After that, we began to study humans. We collected data from across the galaxy, thousands of reports, thousands of stories, and do you know what we found? She looked at each alien in turn. We found that humans adopt everything. Orphaned animals on colony worlds, enemy young during wars, creatures that could kill them, creatures that had killed them. It did not matter. If there was a young life that needed help, humans helped. Inside the habitat module was having a similar conversation. An observer had asked him the same question. Why did humans care for young that were not their own? Was feeding the cubs. He moved among them slowly, offering food, checking for injuries. The cubs had learned to trust him. They did not growl anymore when he came close. On Earth, we lived with wolves for thousands of years, explained. We did not just hunt beside them. We took their pups into our homes. We raised them. We loved them. They became dogs, our partners, our family. But why, they asked, what did you gain? Smiled, gain, I do not understand the question. We saw pups that needed care. We gave care, that is all. That is not logical. Resources should go to your own young, your own survival. Maybe, shrugged, but we are not very logical creatures. We see a small thing in pain and something inside us says help. We do not choose it, we do not decide it, we just do it. The adolescent male cub had been listening. His name, the humans had learned, it meant star in an old Earth language. The humans had named him because the cubs did not share their true names with outsiders. Walked over too. He was almost as tall as the human now. His golden eyes studied the doctor's face. You helped my sister last night, said. The small one, you stayed awake with her. Did most of the work. But you helped, you did not have to. Of course I did. Was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, are all humans like you? Thought about it. Most of us, I think, we are not perfect. We make mistakes. We hurt each other sometimes. But when we see a child in trouble, most of us want to help. It is just how we are made. That night got sick. The poison had been hiding in his body, building up slowly. Now it attacked his nervous system. He collapsed during dinner, shaking and crying out in pain. Ran to him. The treatment was dangerous. He needed to stimulate nerves directly, but that meant holding him still while his body fought back. In pain was a who might strike. I will do it, said. You will get hurt, warned. Probably. He did it anyway. Scratched him badly. Deep cuts on his arms and chest. Did not let go. He held on through the pain, through the blood, through the fear. He held on until the treatment was finished. When woke up, he saw sitting beside him. The human's arms were wrapped in bandages. His face was pale from blood loss, but he was smiling. How do you feel? Asked. Looked at the bandages, at the blood, at the human who had suffered for him. You held on, whispered. I hurt you, but you held on. Of course I did. You needed me. Closed his eyes. Something was changing inside him, something he did not have words for. He had been taught that other species were prey or rivals or enemies. He had never been taught that they could be this. Whatever this was. He fell asleep with hand resting gently on his head, and for the first time since leaving home, he did not dream of fear. 60 hours had passed. The engineers were almost finished repairing their sector. Soon the cubs would go home. Everything should have been fine. But not everyone wanted the cubs to survive. Lieutenant was a security officer. She was young, barely 25 years old. She had never fired her weapon outside of training. She had been assigned to guard the habitat module, and she thought it would be an easy job. She was wrong. The alarm came at midnight. 5 soldiers had broken into the station. They were moving toward the human habitat module. They were armed. They were dangerous. And they had one goal: Kill the cubs. Heard about it from Station Command. A faction believed that destroying the young would cripple the predator species for generations. They thought other aliens would thank them for removing the threat. Lock down the module, Command ordered. Help is coming, just hold on. Lock the doors. She checked her weapon. Her hands were shaking. 5 trained soldiers against 1 young officer and 3 scientists. The odds were not good. Came running when she heard the alarm. What is happening? Told her she watched face change, not with fear, with anger. Cold, quiet anger. They want to kill the children, said. Yes. Then they will have to go through us. And join them. They were not soldiers. They had no training for combat, but they did not run. They did not hide. They stood together and waited. The cubs knew something was wrong. The younger ones whimpered and huddled together. The older ones paced nervously, their claws clicking on the floor. Walked up to, what is happening? Looked at him. He was young, just a child really. But he was a predator. He deserved the truth. Bad people are coming, she said. They want to hurt you and the other cubs. We are going to stop them. His golden eyes hardened. How many? 5. And you are 4. Yes. Turned to the other adolescent cubs. There were 6 of them, all almost full grown. He spoke in the language, quick and sharp. The others listened. They nodded. Then all 7 of them took positions around the younger cubs. A protective ring of claws and teeth and glowing eyes. Now you are 11, said. Stared at them. You want to fight with us. You protected us. Now we protect our family. That includes you. They did not have much time. Quickly showed the cubs simple hand signals. Stop, move, attack, retreat. The cubs learned fast. They were predators after all. They understood tactics. The came. They blasted through the outer door. 5 of them in heavy armor with big guns. They expected to find scared humans and helpless cubs. They expected easy targets. They were very, very wrong. Fired first, warning shots that made the scatter for cover. Then the cubs moved. They were fast, so fast that they could barely see them. Dark shapes in the shadows, glowing eyes in the darkness. The leader shouted orders. His soldiers tried to regroup, but they were not ready for this. They had planned to kill sleeping children. They had not planned for a fight. Took down 1 soldier with a tackle. He did not kill him. He just held him down, claws at his throat, and growled. 2 other cubs flanked another soldier. They moved together like they had trained for years. 1 high, 1 low. The soldier fell without firing a shot. Threw a tool at the 3rd soldier's head. It was not much of a weapon, but it distracted him long enough for a cub to knock him over. The 4th soldier ran. He just turned and ran. He had not signed up for this. The leader was left alone. He pointed his gun at, his hand was shaking. Stay back, he shouted. Stay back or I will shoot. Stepped between them. He had no weapon, no armor, just his body and his words. You came to kill children, said. Is this really who you want to be? The leader's gun wavered. They are monsters. They are children, look at them. The leader looked. He saw the young cubs hiding behind their siblings. He saw their fear, their tears. They were not monsters, they were just kids. His gun lowered. Station security arrived moments later. They arrested the faction. They secured the module. The crisis was over. But something had changed, something important. Everyone on the station had watched the security feeds. They had seen humans fighting beside predator cubs. They had seen a doctor step in front of a gun to protect enemy soldiers from making a terrible mistake. They had seen something they did not have words for. Pack Mother arrived minutes later. She walked through the chaos, past the security officers, past the arrested. She went straight to the habitat module. The cubs were safe, scared but safe. The humans were injured but alive. The adolescents were still in their protective positions, ready to fight again if needed. Looked at her cub, standing guard with humans like they were packmates. "What are humans?" she asked him. Thought about the question. He thought about holding his small sister through the night. He thought about holding him through the pain. He thought about giving them hand signals, trusting them to fight beside her. He thought about what it meant to be protected, to be trusted, to be part of something bigger than yourself. "They are what pack mothers wish they could be," said slowly. "They protect young that are not their own. They protect them from their own kind. They do it even when it costs them everything." He looked at the humans, at their bandages and bruises and tired smiles. "They do not calculate survival," he continued. "They just refuse to let small things die." Was quiet for a long time. Then she did something no one expected. She bent down and touched her forehead to us. "You have learned something important tonight," she said. "Remember it always." In the corner, the smallest cub over too. She climbed into the human's lap and pressed her ear against his chest. The heartbeat was fast now, still pumping from the fight. But it was there, steady, strong, safe. The smallest cub closed her eyes and slept. 72 hours had passed. The sector was repaired. The air was clean again. It was time for the cubs to go home. Nobody wanted to say goodbye. The younger cubs clung to the humans. They had grown used to gentle voice and warm hands and steady heartbeat. The habitat module had become a second home to them. The adolescents tried to act brave. They stood tall and kept their faces calm, but their eyes told a different story. They did not want to leave either. Helped organize the younger cubs. He was a leader now. The fight had changed him. The whole experience had changed him. He was not the same scared young who had arrived 3 days ago. Pack Mother came to collect her children. She brought something with her, a small container made of crystal. Inside it, something glowed with soft blue light. Human said, "Step forward." Walked to the Pack Mother. She had to look up to meet those burning eyes. She was tired. Her body ached, but she stood straight and waited. "In 10,000 years of history, we have given this honor to 43 individuals. All of them gave their lives to protect our young." Opened the crystal container. Inside was a small patch of bioluminescent material. It glowed like starlight. "This is an honor mark. It means trusted with the future. I transfer it from my own body. It is part of me. Now it will be part of you." She pressed the glowing material against his arm. There was a moment of heat, almost pain, and then it was done. The mark glowed softly on skin. It would glow forever. "You are the first not to receive this," said. "You will not be the last. I will make sure your kind is remembered." Did not know what to say. She looked at the mark on her arm. It was beautiful. "Thank you," she finally managed. "But I only did what anyone would do." Made a sound that might have been a laugh. "No, you did what humans do. That is different. That is special." The cubs began to file out. They touched the humans as they passed. Some gave quick hugs. Some just brushed their hands against human fingers. Small goodbyes, small thank yous. The smallest cub would not leave. She clung to his leg and made crying sounds. She had imprinted on the human's heartbeat. She had bonded with in a way that was supposed to be impossible between different species. "Watch this." She did not seem angry or sad. She seemed thoughtful. The small one said, "She has bonded with you." "I know," said. Her voice was thick. "I am sorry. I did not mean for it to happen." "Do not apologize. Bonds are not accidents. They are recognitions." Looked at for a long moment. "Would you keep her?" His heart stopped. "What?" "She needs a Pack Mother. You have been hers for 3 days. Would you continue?" The question was impossible. Adopt an alien child, a cub. There were laws and treaties and 1,000 reasons why it could not work. But looked down at the small cub. At those big eyes looking up at her with complete trust. At those tiny claws holding onto her leg like she was the only safe thing in the universe. "Yes," said. "Yes, I would keep her." Nodded as if she had expected this answer. Then we will make it work. The laws will change. I will make sure of it." She turned to address the watching aliens. Hundreds of them had gathered to see the cubs leave. They had watched everything. The care, the crisis, the fight, the farewell. "Let this be known across the galaxy," announced. "Humans are pack family to the. Any threat to humans is a threat to us. Any kindness to humans is kindness to us. This is our word. This is our bond." The aliens murmured in shock. They had just declared friendship with humans. The apex predators had just chosen the strange, soft, clawless species as their allies. Counselor finished her observation report that night. She had watched everything from the beginning. She had tried to understand what she was seeing. Now, finally, she had found the words. "We assumed humans survived their death world by being the most dangerous species on it," she wrote. "We were wrong. They survived by being the most nurturing. They adopted wolves and turned them into dogs. They raised the young of everything that could not kill them and many things that could. Their evolutionary advantage is not aggression. It is love that does not recognize species boundaries." She paused, thought about what she had witnessed. Today, watching them hold predator cubs through poison and battle and fear, we finally understood. This is why even the galaxy's apex hunters trust humans with their children, because humans will die for young that are not theirs, and they will not even think it is strange. 1 year later, received a transmission, had applied to a human university. He wanted to study xenobiology. He wanted to understand why humans made him feel safe when nothing else in the galaxy could. Attached to the message was a picture. 17, no longer cubs but young adults, gathered beneath a banner. The words were written in clumsy but careful human letters. "Thank you, pack mothers of Horizon 7. Smiled at the picture. In the next room she could hear soft chirping sounds. The smallest cub, now named, was calling for breakfast. Went to feed her daughter. The galaxy had learned something important in those 72 hours. They had learned that humans were not special because they were strong. They were not special because they were smart. They were not special because they could fight. They were special because they could love. And that, perhaps, was the most powerful thing in the universe.